Finally.
Amazing first episode of the Pitbull podcast. Yay. Look at that. And that is a rigging job at its very finest, but we'll talk about that later. It's not that interesting. But what's cool about this, and we're going to talk to you, the listener, viewer, and probably to each other too.
Yeah.
Because this is the first, hopefully not the last time that Mina and I have ever met in person.
And we've known each other for what, a decade?
10 years at least. It's crazy. What happened? Now in the pro wrestling world, we do this thing called putting ourselves over. And this is going to sound like this. When I was touring Guns N' Roses through India, aren't I cool? Okay, anyway, I was producing a tour with Guns N' Roses in India and met this great guy, Bumblefoot. He was the guitarist for Guns N' Roses, as you well know. He's a good friend of yours. This is when Axl and Slash were split up. Bumblefoot, during this tour of India, says, I have a friend in Japan that you have to meet. She's a fighter, she's a singer, and she freaking loves pit bulls. And he introduces us. And here we are, 10 years later.
And you did a really good job on me. There was like sometimes you check on me like every week. And we had never met, but you would check on me. You'd call me every week and be like, how's it going? What's up? And I really appreciated that.
Oh, of course. I felt like we were friends right away. You're like the sister I never had. I'm not sure I ever wanted. Even more so now, but that's okay. Probably hate each other before too long. I love you. I really do. I think you know that. I hope you know that. Yes. Thank you, dear. Yes. I wanted to check because I appreciate what you're doing. And we share this mutual love for these amazing, beautiful creatures that are, colloquially called the pit bull.
Yeah.
And I think over the course of the next 10 years, we'll get into what that means. Hopefully a little more quickly. We'll do some education here, and we'll talk about your love, people out there, for the pit bull. A big goal that I have, and this would apply to people I know, and I won't name any names, but would be if this podcast can turn even one person around who are wary of pit bulls or afraid of pit bulls, or more so prejudiced against pit bulls. To me, that would make it all worthwhile. And agreed?
Absolutely. 100%.
And if in the process we could somehow manage to really contribute to the movement to save these beautiful dogs, that would be the greatest thing ever.
There's way too many of them being put down for I think it's ignorance, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say, I'm going to say, don't get me started because man, we could go on forever about that, right? It's ignorance, it's misinformation. There's so many reasons for it. And, I know we have shared goals for this podcast, and we have our own too. Some of mine, and I know we've talked about some of this, are to talk about why the pit bull has what we will insist is a very unfair reputation, just a wrong, incorrect reputation. Why the dog was tagged with this, what, if anything, can be done about it, and what they're suffering as a result of it. As you mentioned, being put down at alarming rates, and we'll get into that. We'll examine the shelters and euthanasia and the percentages, which will blow your mind when you learn what the true percentages of dogs that are being put down in shelters are pit bulls. It's out of control. We'll talk about breed-specific legislation, why certain towns and cities and municipalities have just banned these beautiful, amazing dogs. We'll talk about the great stories. The pit bulls from the Little Rascals, why the pit bull is known as the nanny dog in England.
Right, I was just about to bring that up.
You're from England. You're from Japan. You're from Cuba. She's from everywhere. But, you have your own fascinating story, and people are going to be, I think, really interested to hear it. But pit bulls in England. That's where they started.
I actually didn't know that, to be honest. Well, you learn something new every day, I guess. I thought it was an American thing, because weren't they the American nanny dog?
Actually, all right. So here's the thing. We may not always agree, and there's going to be some times that I'm not, and Mina is like way humbler than I am, but I'm not going to come at you as an expert about anything unless I positively know the answer. So I don't want to do that. We want this to be an open discussion. We want to create and expand the love for these dogs to others that we have. My understanding, though, of the origin of the pit bull type dog, because one thing, let's be clear on pit bull itself is not a breed. Pit bull is a category
It's
of
an umbrella
dogs.
term.
Exactly. But and here's another thing, for what? Because if a dog bites somebody and even remotely resembles anything close to things that are perceived as being a pit bull, it's like, well, that's a pit bull. So how many of the 200 breeds that the American Kennel Club currently recognizes are pit bulls? 10, 12, 14? That's a subject for debate, and nobody can truly answer that question. But when you get to the percentages of dogs being put down, of these two, let's say 12 breeds are pit bulls.
Okay.
And there are 200 breeds. Okay, for math, 10 different breeds are pit bulls. There's 200 different breeds of dogs currently recognized by the American Kennel Club. That means 2% of dogs are pit bulls. 45 to 50% of the dogs being put down in shelters are these pit bull type dogs.
Or pit bull mixes as well.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. And it's obscene. So why? Breed specific legislation, breed vilification, unfair perception, overbreeding. We'll get into all this on the Pitbull podcast and more.
Good.
So we're going to want to hear from you, and we're going to open the show up for comments. At a certain point, we'll do some live episodes. We'll have call-ins. We'll have some of the best guests in the world that are far more expert at this than I am. And this is probably something to bring up right now. So we've both already admitted that there's things we don't know about the pit bull. I mean, I'm going to take a leap and say we know more than 99% of the population. Is that fair?
I would say, yeah.
But we may not be in that top 1%. But
No.
I think that might work to our advantage here. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to come on here and preach.
Mm-mm.
I just want to create awareness. I want to create love for these dogs because they deserve it. And I want to bring on people who are that top 1% that can really guide us through every one of the subjects we've already mentioned and more that will help this breed survive and thrive.
Do you know what else though? If we put ourselves in a position where we can understand why people are scared and why people have this image of them, then we might be able to start making a change.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any growth without understanding.
So we can't just be up here saying, blech, this is how it is.
And we wouldn't do that, of course. You're not like that. I'm not like that. Again, you're less so like that because this is a nice, humble person who's way humbler than she should be. Because when you learn Mina's story and what she's doing for animals, it's going to blow your freaking minds. It really will. I'll just say it real quickly. I have to tease it, and this will be a whole thing we'll do later. Mina owns and operates the first and only true animal sanctuary in the entire country of Japan. It's called Animo, Animo Sanctuary. Go check it out online. It's unbelievable. That's a distinction. And here she is. I mean, look how humble she is. And you're like, why is this girl on this podcast? And she doesn't know anything. She knows a lot, believe me. The first sanctuary in Japan. That's a distinction. That's crazy.
Oh, I blushed.
I don't think I've seen that before. Wow. Okay. Anyway, we know what works here. So for sanctuaries, next week, the first guests ever on the Pitbull podcast are going to be Jill and Cody Rackley of Shadows Fund. They're in Lompoc, California. One reason that Mina and I have selected them as our first guests is that we're here together at Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Utah, the world's largest and the best leading in how to really do animal sanctuaries right. There are blessedly a bunch of sanctuaries around the country and around the world. Unfortunately, though, a lot of them are just not doing the job they should be doing. All founded and operated by the biggest hearted, best intentioned people imaginable. And, Mina and I are here together because we formed this friendship that we talked about. We bonded over this mutual love for pit bulls. And I guess Guns N' Roses a little bit. Not Axel so much, but Bumblefoot.
Yeah, Bumblefoot. But
Right.
I mean, yeah, that was very much in the early days.
Yes.
And then it quickly transitioned into pitbulls, and only pitbulls.
Yes. And then from there, of course, you expanded into a sanctuary with all kinds of different breeds.
Yeah.
I know your heart will always be a pit bull heart.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest compliment ever. Seeing someone has a pit bull heart. To me, that's the greatest compliment. And we started talking about your sanctuary a lot. And I've been in and around this world for a long time now, working with almost always women, because speaking of hearts, women have the hearts for the rescue world. It's almost always women run. And over the years, I've connected to and helped several women that are owning and running their own sanctuaries, and help with things like, business organization, fundraising, whatnot, because business is not always their strongest suit. And I know is that like so misogynistic that I just said that?
No,
wow.
it's absolutely my weakness right there.
But what I love so much about you, one of the many things, is that with your sanctuary, I mean, she has this land. No, let's not confuse rescue and sanctuary. There's thousands of rescues. And again, bless every one of them. They're usually foster-based. They've gone to the lengths of setting up their own 501c3. That alone is no joke.
Yeah.
That's a heavy lift. But primarily, they're based out of a home, and they're taking in a few dogs at a time, if any, and they're mainly filtering dogs to get them into home situations, which is great. The more, the merrier. There are very, very few that take the next step, which means investing in land, putting structures on these land, bringing personnel in, volunteers, paid staff, and running a physical sanctuary on a full-time basis.
I mean, what I saw at Best Friends just these past few days has absolutely blown my mind. The way it's run is just, the whole sanctuary is like a heart, and everything flows through. It's so clean, it's so well kept, and it's just a machine. It's a well-oiled machine that took decades to build to come to this point, but this is what I aspire to.
Yes, I mean, Best Friends, yeah, and I want to talk about that, and we'll really dive into that next week with Jill and Cody from Shadows Fund. But I want to say this about Best Friends: they're a monster, and I mean that only in the best way. They're the leaders in this world. Now, that said, it means they come with a lot of detractors, and there are going to be viewers out here right now that are watching this that are going to throw their hands up and go, Best Friends, because they bring a lot of money in. They're high profile. And as we all know, any nonprofit in any sector is going to take a lot of heat when they're in that position. Mm-hmm. Best Friends is in that position. Here's my position. They're doing it right. You believe they're doing it right?
Absolutely. I've seen it firsthand, and it's incredible.
And if you folks out there don't believe that, that's your prerogative. If we can help to change your mind, that's great. I hope you don't watch this and go, oh, they love Best Friends, so fuck off. We're never watching you again. I just realized Mina asked about 10 minutes ago before we came on air if we could use profanity. I'm like, let's keep it to a minimum. And they're I'm going to wash my mouth out. Sorry about that.
Fuck it.
Now I'm going to get her started. Oh my God. It's going to be bad. Here it comes, everybody.
No, I have to be really careful because I'm from England. So some of the words that I say are really, really bad in American language, people.
Yes. Right. We'll get into that in future episodes. Probably this one, we'll get into it. But so just quick, one last note on next week. We're going to dive into the world of sanctuaries. We'll talk about what Mina does at Animo. And again, look it up. You have to see this. Animo, ANIMO sanctuary.com. We'll talk about others that are doing it right, like Lovable. So I'm wearing the shirt from Lovable. They're in Eugene, Oregon, run by an amazing team of people led by Liesl Wilhart. They're doing it right. We want to recognize these people every week. Hey, and sanctuaries out there, we want to wear your shirts, so send us T-shirts. Anyway, yeah. Right?
Exactly.
You're sporting Best Friends fashions today.
Best Friends. I bought this at the gift shop yesterday.
Cool.
Good. And it's my new favorite hoodie.
Absolutely. And in buying it, you made a donation to a worthy cause. So good for you. What we'll also talk about, and I hope the subject of sanctuaries, it interests you all. We'll talk about what's wrong in that world and how it can really go the wrong direction. We're not going to name names. That we don't want to do. But I can tell you that I've seen it many times.
I mean,
hands-on.
I was in that position a while back, and I was right on the edge of being just, I was heading in the wrong direction, but it took a whole lot of fighting to get my head on straight.
You helped me put my head back in the game, because about 10 minutes ago I said one of the many things I love about you, and then I lost my train of thought. And it was this: you were at a critical mass. There's no doubt about it. I could see it. You knew that. You just said it.
Knew it.
And I've seen many at that point that are not remotely open-minded enough to kind of like right the ship, so to speak. But you not only were open-minded, you expanded upon that. You took responsibility for learning what you had to learn. Well, I mean, I did what I could to like guide and help, but it was all you. You brought the right people in, and you're heading in the right direction now. So good for you.
Thank you.
And here you are learning even more, thousands of miles away from home.
I mean, a year ago, I would never have imagined being able to leave my sanctuary and the animals in the hands of volunteers or someone that wasn't me. It was just not in the books.
And by putting your trust in others and knowing that your animals are in good hands, that's elevated you to the next level now.
Exactly.
So you can bring all this knowledge and all these new connections that you made back to Tokyo, or not Tokyo, but outside of Tokyo, where Animo is, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you love about pit bulls?
I think the question should be, what don't I love about pit bulls? Nothing.
I have one.
Farts.
You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? Okay.
No, I do. You know what?
What's that?
My service dog, who was my pit bull, died last year, and one thing is I missed her farts.
Oh God! Wow. Okay, so that takes that off the list too. There's nothing you don't like.
If you suddenly find yourself without pit bulls, and then you have a pit bull fart in your bed, it brings back all the warm and fuzzies in a really funny way. I swear to God.
Okay.
We have fostered a pit bull from best friends for 2 nights. We're doing what we can to. They have a program where they let people that stay in this lovely place here to foster animals out and give them like a taste of home life and see how they acclimate to being in a home environment. It's a really lovely, well set out bed, TV, shower. It's just a wonderful, wonderful setup. And
mini bar.
Right,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
And we wanted to do our part as well, so we fostered a pit bull for 2 days, and we have our little baby PB over there. And we can put a link. We can link stuff on this, right?
Yeah, we can. Let's put her adoption link up.
Yeah.
She's a sweet girl, and I'm gonna do something that's probably unprofessional that our amazing producer John Pozarowski is gonna hate me for. I'm gonna turn the camera for a second, and I'm gonna show you this little girl. So as Mina said, we've been sharing like joint custody of this dog. we have separate rooms. We're brother sister, remember? But she happens to be here in my room right now. So this little thing over here, if we can see her.
Just point down.
See her?
There we go.
Is so sweet.
Right there.
And so beautiful and so stinky. But it's all good. It's all good. I love everything about these dogs. And it's like, you know, as Mina said, we're doing a good thing by helping a dog maybe get ready for adoption.
Yeah.
But I have to admit also, we're kind of satisfying our own fix at the same time.
I really miss having dogs in my bed. So having her sleeping with me, even just
sleeping with me,
just for half the
not
night.
you, me.
No.
I know.
Half the night she's
Yes.
mine,
Yes.
and then I wake up at midnight, and then I bring her over here.
Yes, was that what time you showed up and woke me up out of a dead sleep last night? She's like, okay, I promise. Here's the dog. Thank you. Right? No, it's
Bassman.
It's a beautiful thing. I grew up with a family that would always have a dog, and we had a variety of different breeds throughout the years. We had a German Shepherd. We had a thing called a West Highland Terrier, if you know that. That's why I recognize that dog we saw yesterday. A Bedlington Terrier, which looks like a little lamb. And look, that's a pretty odd breed. Most people don't know it. And all sorts of odd lots. And for years, I always thought that I wanted pit bulls. And I didn't know why. It's just something that's been in my brain forever. And I had a girlfriend years ago. We lived together. We decided we'd get 2 pit bulls because she's like, I've wanted pit bulls my whole life too. So I was busy, sent her out to find pit bulls. She wanted to take the project on. She was all about it. She found a house with a litter, and she had me meet her there. She went and met the guy first. And I think I told you this the other day. This is my first exposure to pit bulls. And I think this is important for a lot of reasons. At least for me, it is. So I go to this guy's house. Let me back up. First thing is, it turned out my girlfriend basically chose the wrong breed.
Yep.
Because what I had in mind was the classic American Staffordshire Terrier. Oh, and we have to get back to the origin later too, England, America, and all of that.
Yeah.
It's a bigger dog, 60, 70 pounds. It's a classic, what we all think of here in the US is what a pit bull looks like, the big head, the taller dog. So we ended up ultimately with 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers, which come from Staffordshire, England, hundreds of years ago. And my understanding, again, I could be wrong, is that's the very first breed of a pit bull type dog. But we'll verify that with an expert later. Maybe we'll have Darcy Dennett on, we'll have Darcy Dennett on, who directed the movie The Champions. We'll have a Bronwyn Dickey who wrote the definitive book on pit bulls called The Pitbull. If you want to learn all about pit bulls, read The Pitbull or watch the Pitbull podcast. I just plugged our own show. You missed it. No, that's all right. That's a great book. Have you read that?
Yeah, I've got it.
The Pitbull, Bronwyn Dickey. We'll have Bronwyn on the show.
Nice.
We'll have Darcy Dennett, these are all friends and contacts for years. They'll be very supportive of this. In any case, I go to this house in in Orange County, Lake Forest it was, where we're living at the time. And my girlfriend says, just come knock on the door. We're in the house. So I get there and there's a yard out front and a little, like a fence, right? Maybe 4 feet tall. So I look, open the fence, I walk in, and half a dozen dogs come charging out, right? And they're staffies, right? So if you're a staffy lover, you know what they are. They're the sweetest, cutest, littlest pit bull on this planet. They're freaking hysterical. They're a mile a minute. They're a lot of energy. And I have 6 of them jumping on me. And I'm like, I was terrified. I admit it here and now. I was like terrified. And I'm like, help. The guy comes out of the house. He's laughing at me. My girlfriend's laughing at me. That was my first real exposure to pit bulls. What a great start, huh?
And look how far you've come.
I have to admit, you know what I think it was? It's like, even though I'm saying I thought I wanted pit bulls, which I believe was the case, I must have had in the back of my mind this like reputation. That had to be it, right?
For me, it was the absolute opposite because I didn't know that they were such a hated breed. When I first saw this one post on Facebook, a friend of mine, a rapper, he posted that he got a litter of pit bulls, and a mutual friend of ours reposted it. What is it called? Shared it. And I saw it and I was like, oh, puppies.
They're the cutest puppies.
Yeah, they are. Gosh. And then I called the number that day and arranged to go and see them the next day, just to go and see. And the next day I went home with a pit bull.
Wow, that's a great start. And it's been love ever since.
Yeah, I never knew anything bad about them until my mum went back to England and she went around to all her friends. My mum didn't know that they had a bad reputation either. So she went back to England and she was like, my daughter got a pit bull, American Pit Bull Terrier. Mina got a pit bull. And 99% of
freaking out, right?
Yeah, they're like, that pit bull, that her dog's going to turn on her when she gets older. It was the worst decision ever, and everything was negative. So that's when I decided that I'm going to have the best pit bull in the world, because I was looking at this gorgeous puppy that adored me and I adored her, and we did everything together. And I was like, there's no way that there is a bad bone in this dog, and she is never going to turn on me. I'm never going to turn my back on her either. So I became a certified dog trainer, just so I could prove that pit bulls are amazing. And then I made her into a service dog. And yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah.
So wait a second, Mina, you're telling me that your pit bull's never going to turn on you? Come on. It's a pit bull. Of course it's going to turn on you, right?
I know, man.
That drives me nuts. People very, very close to me. Again, I'm not going to name any names. It's like, I want to shake them. And they have these like $3,000 designer dogs that are not great, right? And it's like, I have 4 at home now, and 4 beautiful bully breeds. I have an American Bully, I have a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, I have an American Staffordshire Terrier, and then Moose. No, Moosens. I call them Moosens, like, you know, nuisance with the M in front, who's all kinds of different pit bulls. And it's like, you could come to my house as long as I'm there, and you could lay down on the floor, or you could dive in the middle of them. You came in, well, you're already an expert, so you knew the drill.
Not an expert, but just a pit bull lover.
Oh, okay, come on. You are the co-host of the Pitbull podcast, after all. So, in any case, but you know the drill.
Yeah.
And anybody can come in with me, dive right in the middle of my dogs, and I will stare into the camera and say this: there is nothing you could ever do to make them bite you, short of attacking me. It's just not gonna. It's not gonna happen.
Ella wouldn't. My pit bull, Ella, my first one, she would not bite anyone, even if they attacked me.
A lot of pitties are like that. World's worst watchdogs. They look good. They sound good. If they bit you, they do some damage. And that's where a lot of this comes from too.
Yeah.
It's almost like I have this like thing in my brain going. So I start to get angry, unlike you, because you're so level-headed, about the prejudice, you know? And it's like, I want to say things like this, and we'll get into all this as we go. Pit bulls, if they bite you, because the Maltese, the Lhasa Apso, the Chihuahua, the Pomeranian, the Pekingese are all statistically more likely to bite you than a pit bull. That is the truth, period.
Yeah.
People right now are going like, bullshit. It's true. The thing is, you don't read in the newspaper, poodle goes on a rampage.
Do you know what? I had police over at my house a couple of years ago because one of my pit bulls broke out and she was playing in one of the neighbors' farms, and they let her play there. But another neighbor saw the pit bull and called the police, and they had to come over and check like that I was fixing the fence to make sure and whatever. And I had already gotten her back, and I was already fixing the fence at that time. But the policeman said to me, there was a news article a while ago where a granddad with pit bulls picked up his grandbaby, and the pit bull bit the baby's head. And I thought that was a strange thing to say. But then I looked it up later, and it wasn't even a pit bull. It was like a lab or something.
That's often the case when you hear a pit bull bites report. It's wrongly attributed to a different breed. I mean, but you know as well as I do, we can't sit here and tell you that it never happens. It does. But you have way more, you know, it's way more likely you're going to be struck by lightning than bitten and hurt by a pit bull. If you get attacked by a pit bull for real, and it has happened, it can happen, you're probably going to take some damage. So, you know, it's like I come from the pro wrestling world, as you know, in the mixed martial arts world. And I'm just going to come out and say this. It's going to sound horrible to put it this way, but there's a reason. Some of my best friends are the largest, scariest looking black men on this planet. All right. It's just like weird, right? Sorry. There's a reason I'm saying this. I'd be out in public with these guys, and I would see people cross the street to avoid us constantly, right? And it's kind of sad. And it's like, my friends are aware, they know the deal. And it's like, I would say to them, or say to you, these are like the nicest, most evolved, genuinely big-hearted human beings that I know. But if they get pissed and they hit you, they'll probably do more damage than the 5'8" obnoxious accountant who's drinking in a bar on a Saturday night and thinks he's going big time. but I'll tell you that accountant's more likely to start shit with you than my buddies are.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So I think that's a pretty fair analogy. I really do.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Thank you.
Well done.
Wonder where I was going with that, right?
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
Oh, that doesn't sound good, did it? No, but it's so true. They're great-hearted dogs. Statistically, they're far down the bite list of the 200 different breeds currently recognized by the American Kennel Club.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it was, a temperament test, right? They score
Canine
so
good
high.
citizenship.
Yeah.
They're always at the top of the list. They're good, sweet babies for the most part. There's always exceptions to every rule. To dispel a couple. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
We were talking about, the Vic.
Michael Vick.
Yeah,
Yes.
Michael Vick case. All of the pit bulls that came to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary because they did the whole operation, right?
That's, of course, yes.
We were talking about them today. All of the pit bulls, because of where they came from, they had to pass the canine citizen test to get adopted, and they all passed.
Yes.
And these are all dogs that were being fought and abused and came from the most horrific situations, and still they come up on top, like passing with flying colors. So
yeah, and you're of course referring to the movie The Champions, an amazing documentary. If you haven't seen it, whether you're a dog fan or not, if you want to be moved by an amazing documentary, watch The Champions. It's a story, as Mina said, of Michael Vick's fighting dogs after that knucklehead was arrested and thrown in jail. Thank God. Although I do want to invite him on this podcast. I told you that?
Yep.
Because it'd be good to talk and see where he is on this and if he's learned from it. I've heard that he has, but I'd love to see that for ourselves and talk about where he came from. Everyone is due a second chance. And even a person who did what he did to these dogs, if he's come out the other side, let's see what he has to say. So we'll invite Michael Vick on. But the movie is, I think it was 30 some dogs they took here to Best Friends, where we are today, and they worked with them and ultimately adopted almost every one of these dogs out.
There was only 2 left.
Yep, into a loving home. And these dogs lived out great lives as some of the sweetest beings you could ever possibly imagine. So it's a great breed.
Yep.
It's a great breed. Last year in the US, about 2 million dogs were put down. About 1 million, almost a million were these pit bull type dogs. So we have a big task in front of us, not just you and I, but Lovable and Animo and Best Friends and Shadows Fund and Linda Blair World Heart Foundation and the American Pit Bull Foundation and all these amazing places. Jason Flatt at Friends to the Forlorn in Georgia. All these people do it. And one of the rare guys in the business. We'll have to have Jason on. Great guy, amazing guy, head and face covered in tattoos, looks like a human pit bull with the biggest heart you could ever meet, for sure. It's a big task in front of us. I know we'll do our part, whatever we can do.
Yep.
To help these beautiful babies.
I saw a picture of Danny Trejo holding a pit bull puppy. I screenshotted it and sent it to you straight away.
I saw that. Yep, that's great.
I was like, I want him on the show.
Yeah, we can talk to Danny for sure. I'm going to put I always call out our producer, John Paz, because he's so great. And I always say this before I ask him for a favor. I have a great photo of Danny Trejo with Ramon and Gogo at a movie premiere. So I'm going to send it to John so he can, during this magic moment, he can pop it up on the screen so everybody can see it. Thank you, John. Yeah, there's you got to love guys like Danny Trejo, who's he's a great example of like a human pit bull. Certain perception. Yeah.
It's always the ones that look the scariest that have the best heart.
They can. And I think he, as a human, has demonstrated what these dogs have demonstrated to me, where I walk in this yard 15 years ago and yell for help. And now I see, when I met Wilson, my sweet staffy I have now, I met him on Maui, where I was living up until last year. And the person that owned him brought Wilson and his 5 siblings to meet me. And they were all in the back of this truck. And I asked the guy, can you let them all out? He's like, yeah, they're going to be pretty active. I'm like, dude, let me at it, please. He let them out. I laid on the ground. They all jumped on me. And it was just like, it's full circle, It's
Yeah.
so different from where my brain was 15 years ago. And I now know and can attest to the true nature of these beautiful dogs. I've had my hands, as you have, literally on thousands of them. I, honest to God, have only been bit one time by a pit bull type dog, and it was breaking up a dog fight that the dogs were really going at each other, and I was collateral damage. The dog was
Yeah.
not going for me. I just got tagged in the mix.
I've been bitten a bundle of times, but it was always because I put myself in between two fighting dogs,
Yes.
which does sound stupid. But when you're in that situation and you know how much damage these dogs can do to each other, you either let one of them kill the other or you put yourself in between. And we're the kind of person that will just, I don't care if I lose a finger or a hand or an arm.
Yeah,
Just-
my nail is still, I'm not flipping you off, it's my ring finger. My nail is still growing back 10 months later from breaking up a dog fight. My finger got chomped, and the emergency room physician said I might actually lose top half of my finger, and I didn't. But I'll always dive into that. But I do want to say this, so we don't create the wrong perception here. I have been bitten maybe 10 times by dogs. So if I've only been bitten once by a pit bull type dog, what does that say? The other 9 were what?
Yeah.
All little things usually. Again, the dreaded, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought. The terrible Shih Tzu or Maltese, Lhasa Apso, and I love all dogs. I really do. I'm not putting these dogs down, but that's where I've taken all my damage from.
Right.
Or 90% of it, in any case. What else do we want to share tonight? This is our introductory episode. We're going to cover every subject under the sun that pertains primarily to why pit bulls are having such a bad time. And it's going to be our goal to do the tiniest bit that we possibly can to turn that tide.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day the pit bull will again be regarded as it was in England and actually in the US.
Yeah,
just
I know.
100 years ago as the nanny dog.
The image of the American dog being the pit bull with the scarf around its.
Yes, and it wasn't even 100 years ago. Yeah, it was 50, 60. They're
Yeah,
known as the
like
nanny dog.
During the war and stuff, it was the pit bull.
Yes.
The national dog was the pit bull with American flag around its neck.
That's right. That's right. And there's another photo John can put up at this moment in the podcast. There's so many photos that we can share, and we will do that here. One of my favorites, of course, I've shown it to you so many times, you're probably sick of seeing it, which are 3 of my bullies at the time, Ramon and Gogo, my dearly departed babies, and Eos, who blessedly is still with me, your goddaughter, surrounding a small infant on a bed in a very seemingly protective way. And it's a beautiful thing. And right now people be freaking out, going, how could you ever do that? You turn on the babies. All right. Because I knew I was not even fathomable. So anyway, that's my passion for these breeds. You have the same.
Yep.
I know that.
Yep.
We're going to do some good things on the show. We're going to talk about the great works of the people that are out there helping this breed.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to everyone and getting to know them and shining a light on them and helping them, right? Because they're doing a good job and they need all the support that they can get as well.
Indeed. So let's make it a mission on the show. I was half joking about the t-shirts before. I think it'd be cool. Each week, let's wear a shirt from a different rescue. I love that. Create awareness. I always want to talk about Animo because you are my special rescue partner now, and you deserve the spotlight on you. Again, the only sanctuary in Japan, which is crazy. It's a hell of a distinction. But let's talk about Animo and everybody else who are doing the good works.
Yes.
And while we're doing that, we'll hopefully change maybe one heart and one mind along the way. And
beautifully put.
Sorry?
Beautifully put. Sorry, was my accent knocking you off there? Beautifully put.
I'm still not getting it.
Oh my God. You put that beautifully.
Oh, beautifully put. Oh my God. It's all right. Thank you. Actually, I just wanted to hear the compliment 3 times.
Do you want me to say bottle of water again?
Bottle, yes.
How many times he's made me say this on this trip? Mina, what is this? It's a bottle. It's a what? It's a bottle.
But how do you say it in America?
Oh, don't do this to me now. Okay, can you say it first and
You
get
know
me to
how bottle.
bottle.
Nice.
A bottle of water.
Wow. That's
I've
impressive.
been in America for too long now.
I know it's about 3 days, huh? Amazing. Anyway, I'm so happy to be doing this. So happy to finally meet you in person.
Right.
My sister from another mother.
A sister from another mister.
Oh, or both. One of each.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rhymes better. God, wow. All right. I think it's probably time to wrap. I don't know about you. You're sharp as a tack. I am clearly going freaking brain dead. I feel it coming, but I'm super excited to be doing this.
Me too. I'm glad we finally started, and we're gonna smash this.
Let's do it. Thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you next week.
Yes.
With Jill and Cody Rackley from the Amazing Shadows Fund.